is Stephanie Simon with the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. Her title is Score Your Shore, a self-assessment of habitat on your lake lot. So if you don't mean to be in this session and you're supposed to be somewhere else, you might want to go now. Otherwise, here's Steph. Steph is an aquatic biologist with the DNR and has 6 years experience in aquatic plant work. She has a bachelor's degree in aquatic biology from Bemidji State University. She's based out of Rayner. Thank you for driving. But her work takes her to lakes throughout Minnesota. Today she will be presenting on Score Your Shore, a tool that citizens can use to assess the habitat on developed riparian lots. So without further ado, Steph Simon.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Steph Simon, and this is Josh Knopik in the back. He'll be helping me out throughout the presentation.
All right, everyone's going to need, at some point in this presentation, an audience participation clicker, one of these guys. So if you don't have one of these, I have them up to and you will also probably want to enter a scorecard, a score sheet. So if you're missing one or the other, score sheet. Wizard? Thank you. All right. Everyone got one of these? That's what you All righty. I think we're at 29.
Okay. All right, I think I'll get going. Today I'll be presenting information about Score Your Shore. It's a tool that citizens can use to assess the habitat of the lake lot. First, I'll give an overview presentation, and then I'll start a second presentation, and we'll use the clickers then. Riparian property owners often ask themselves, how much is my property worth? To answer that, you can contact a realtor, or even go to one of the free home value calculators. You simply answer questions about features of your property, and the realtor will contact you with an estimate. But what if you want to know how much is my property worth to fish, wildlife, and or water quality? You can ask the wildlife what they think, but they're not going to answer you. Score Your Shore is a tool designed for riparian homeowners and other volunteers interested in evaluating the character and condition of developed lake and river lots. And this morning I'll give you just a general overview. You may be familiar with DNR's Restore Your Shore CD. Score Your Shore can be used as a companion tool to help landowners identify areas of the shoreline that may benefit from restoration. And the objectives are to assess the remaining habitat at developed sites, generate awareness of what makes a high-quality buffer, recognize and promote good shoreline stewardship, and identify potential sites for restoration. Score Your Shore provides a tool for riparian owners to assess the condition of developed shorelines, and is a self-assessment tool and probably most informative if landowners conduct the survey themselves because you know your property. It is geared for non-biologists. It provides a relatively rapid snapshot survey using low-tech methods and standard criteria. And the basic criteria can be adapted to meet your needs. For habitat zones, we divide the shoreline into 3 sections. Each of these zones have unique habitat and water quality, protection values, and landowners often manage and use those zones differently. For each zone, we have identified scoreable features where you can earn points based on the amount of habitat remaining in each zone. The upland is simply the main lot area in the yellow, typically the area above the high water mark, and we usually go back to the front of the house facing the lake. and you can earn up to 65 points in this zone. The shoreline is the area from the water's edge to about the ordinary high water mark, and you can earn up to 35 points in this zone. And then the upland and shoreline are combined for a total land score of 100 points. And the aquatic zone is the area from the water's edge to the end of your dock or swim platform, and there are possible a total of 100 points. So there's 200 points possible. For each habitat zone, we have created a scorecard or a report card that lists the features to be assessed and the points that are awarded based on how you rate each feature. The upland zone has 3 features to score for a possible maximum score of 65 points. And then for each feature, you simply select the choice that best describes the property, and then you tally up the points. And the shoreline has 2 features to score for a possible maximum 35 points. And you follow the same process here, where you just tally up the points. And the aquatic zone has 5 features to score for a possible maximum score of 100 points. And again, you repeat the same process. Naturally vegetated ground cover can be natural rock in the northeast part of Minnesota, or pine needles that fell to the ground, native grasses and flowers. Most people think turf grass is native or natural. It's not. So we call that a 0. And I will use this example a lot and walk you through how you'd use the scorecards to estimate the habitat value in each zone. Step 1 is to draw some imaginary lines. 3 I have here. The upland, the shoreline, and the aquatic. And here's a scorecard for the upland zone, and there are 3 features to score. A is the upland trees, B is the upland shrubs, C is the upland ground cover or naturally vegetated ground cover. The first feature is trees, and you are asked to determine what % of the upland lot contains trees. For most of these features that ask about % of lot, you have 5 choices. 0, 1 to 24, 25 to 49, 50 to 74, or 75 to 100. And they're all based on the point scale. This is a common way that biologists record information in the field, but if you're not used to this type of survey, it can be difficult to decide which category to select. So I'd like to give you a hint you can use for many of these questions. The first question is, what % of the upland has trees? And you need to pick from one of these 5 categories. First, it helps to divide the lot into 4 sections, and each section would be 25% of the lot. Second, locate the areas where the trees are growing in the upland zone. And next, it might help to visualize all the trees clumped together side by side. So I'm going to take out this tree and move it to the right. And now if we ask ourselves what % of the upland zone has trees, it's a little easier to answer. So you'd say 25 to 49%. Because we're doing coverage of the lot. I scored my first feature in the upland zone, and now I can select that trees cover 25 to 49% of the lot. Now I'll look at the second feature, which is the shrub layer, shown in the pink circles. And I'm going to say 1 to 24% of the lot, because there's like maybe 1 shrub. And then my last step in this zone is to score the ground cover. And I select that 0% of the cover is natural because it's mowed. And I tally up my points, and I receive a score of 18 points out of 65 for the upland.
Any question?
Yep.
3 trees and a bare lot like that, I don't know if I would call that 25 to 49%.
Because we're doing the tree cover.
There's trees from the...
We're doing the tree canopy.
Okay.
So the canopy layer was more than 24%. So it'd be in the 25.
So you're looking down from above.
Looking straight out from the lake.
Okay.
We'll have some examples for it.
Yeah. We'll practice this more in the second part. The same steps are followed for the shoreline zone. Except the trees and shrubs are combined because it's usually a narrow zone. And I select my choices for each category, tally my points in the shoreline zone, scores of 12 out of 35 because they've cut half of the
Yep, I have
Yep.
a question. When you, it's high water mark to the shoreline, are you assuming the lake rises to that level occasionally? That's how you find your high water mark?
It can be, it's just an estimate really, but we use that as like in our manual, it's a visual.
Because if it didn't ever flood,
And you would
you
know
would
that
have no
more.
shoreline
Yeah.
area.
You would know that more because it's your lot, so you should know where you beach.
Yeah,
You live on a lake.
I do, and if the water has never gone over, it doesn't fluctuate.
Then that would be your,
So there's no shoreline to your well, yeah,
it would be, it could be like a tiny little bit of shoreline, but
okay. Hard to get,
it is. And that's understandable. That's why we made a point system.
okay.
The shoreline section is really about the land-water interface. In most shorelines, and this is a bit, it's highly variable along different shorelines, but, it's really where the water meets the land and then kind of up to a natural bank. Most lake shores have a reasonably natural bank. Sometimes that bank is a few inches, sometimes that bank is a few feet. So there's no real hard, nature isn't perfect. It's really, you're really making kind of an arbitrary line on a highly variable system.
And then we move into the aquatic zone, which your scorecards don't have that on, but if we have a manual online that shows the aquatic zone here. And this consists of overhanging vegetation, whether or not emergent and floating plants are present, whether or not you cut a boat channel in the plant beds, and then the submerged plants and woody habitat, which you can see the woody habitat underneath the water. And then let's pretend we can see under the water. And here's the scorecard for the aquatic zone. For emergent floating leaf plants, we'll select that 0% of the shoreline contains these plants. For submerged, we'll say they're abundant because there's quite a few. And we'll mark there's no unnatural openings because there's no emergent plant beds you can cut through. And then we don't see any overhanging veg. There are dead tree limbs and branches in the water. And then you tally up your points, and you get a total of 50 points out of 100. And then for our example site, we had 30 points in the upland, or 18 points in the upland, 12 points in the shoreline. Total of 30 out of 100, which is not the greatest. And then the aquatic zone, you get 50 out of 100. Now let's compare some land scores, upland plus shoreline for these different sites. Here's our example site that scored 30 points out of 100. And here are 3 other examples to show what sites that scored higher and lower look like. In addition to assessing your own lake lot, this tool can be used by lake groups to assess multiple lots. And it can be used to identify properties you want to showcase as good examples of land stewardship. Like the 100 is perfect. Or it can be used to figure out what sites need to be restored. Like this one didn't score very high. There's one tree. And a group of homeowners could use this tool as a way to set objective goals for shoreline management For example, everyone should try to have their property score at least 35 points in the next 5 years. And then we have our manual on the DNR website under Score Your Shore. You can just type in Score Your Shore under there. This will pop up. We also have a quick guide, which I have up here. I have some copies if you'd like. And I also have a manual over in our booth. And we'll now start practicing some clickers unless there's any questions.
How do you compensate for the aquatic zones that are a natural sand substrate where little or nothing grows to start with?
It would score lower, but as long as you know it's natural, like you're just gonna have to deal with the lower. You know that you don't have to like restore it. You know it's natural. You would look at the undeveloped lot, but most people look at undeveloped lot and be like, okay, that's what was there, and
There, in the last picture, the one at the bottom, your last slide, there. Now, that looks to me like rocks in the lower left corner.
that over here.
Yeah,
That was probably riprap.
that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you say about that? What, is that a good thing, a bad thing? What, what?
Well, they scored a little higher because they left probably greater than 50% of the lot as native grasses. So you would just cut out the little bit of. It's not great, but they left some. And our scoring system is set up that way that you could have a little bit and still score higher, like a little bit of riprap, a little bit of beach or something.
Riprap has a very low score, you're saying?
Yes,
Right.
it's unnatural.
What if the riprap grows in? I mean, I got a lot of riprap and there's weeds all over it.
Then we would probably score it as higher because there's plants.
Just keep in mind, I mean, this is kind of ultimately what's the value of the land from the wildlife perspective. So riprap is good for, reducing sediment and stabilizing shorelines, but it doesn't really do much for, birds and ducks and finches and grasshoppers and so on and so forth. But when you have it grown in with, plants, then sure, then you've got habitat for.
The other thing it seems to me is if you've got 600 feet of lakeshore and you've got a 100-foot that you're doing, you're kind of slanting, it becomes an individual, how do you rate it? Because 500 feet could be total woods.
Yeah, this is just 100 feet.
No, this is your lot.
This is your,
The whole
Whatever
lot.
your lot is.
Yeah, because our whole lot, we live on Leech Lake, and we just have the frontage for the house. I mean, we're pretty close to 100%. You almost can't see the house, but if you go, and we have a swamp too, but yeah, if you start, we would just be able to say 100% if you don't, if you're going to stretch it out that far. Because we have 15 acres.
Yep,
I believe.
it would be whatever your lot is. It doesn't have to be just 100 feet. All right, I think we'll move on to the
There
clickers.
are definitely people that are the worst. People don't understand. Yeah, I'm gonna drop these off about the association. You can get it offline.
All right, does everybody have a clicker?
I just printed off some.
All right, so we're using the clickers, and we're going to start running through some exercises, and this is the group audience participation component. The clickers have, little numbers and letters kind of corresponding. So 1 is A, 2 is B, 3 is C, and so forth. When you can answer as many times as you want, but it's only going to register the last answer that you put. So if you say, oh, I think it's A, and then you change your mind and change it to B, you can go ahead and hit B, and it'll remember your last answer. And you'll know that it actually works by having there's a little green light that'll blink when it registers as an answer. So right now, if you push it, you're going to get a little, crosshatch saying, we don't, because it's not active yet. but when it's active, then you'll see a little green light. That's the response that's actually registered. So.
And let us know if your clicker isn't working. We'll give you a few seconds per slide and then move on. How far did you drive to this meeting? We're just going to use this as like a practice and make sure everybody's clickers are working.
So if you see on the upper right corner, it says the number of responses, for 24, 25, so on. I think we have 30 clickers up right now, so unfortunately there's no way to really tell if yours is working other than if that little green light works. We have 28 clickers.
28. All right, we'll just close it and each one will show you a graph of what you guys all answered. So, who drove the greater than 90 miles?
Who's the overachiever that drove 90 miles here?
I didn't do that this morning. I did it last night. So I had to debate. I drove less than 10 if you say at 8 o'clock this morning, or if you count coming from the Twin Cities to here. I couldn't decide. The question wasn't totally clear to me.
Just how far you gosh. All right, so the next one is which Minnesota counties have no lakes? Ready, guys? The correct answer is C. Most people got it. Half of them. Which state has more miles of shoreline? California, Hawaii, Florida, Iowa, or Minnesota?
All those questions were just stretched it out. Almost Minnesota stretched it out. When you say Hawaii, are you just talking about every island, or just the island of Hawaii, the big island?
Oh, yeah, the whole thing.
We're so competitive. There's like 7 islands. I'm gonna just go. I guess that'd be fun to see the answer. Yes, not Iowa.
All right, looks like everybody's done. Correct answer is Minnesota. And Itasca comes from the Latin words North Lake, Truth Head, or Great Fish.
It's a grade school question.
Correct answer is B. Veritas caput.
It's a combination of TAS on the end of Veritas and the CA on the kaput.
Yeah.
Itasca.
That's tricky.
And the true head of Mississippi is what it means.
Everybody says their place is the true head of the
Any questions so far? Okay, then we're going to move on to start going to the shoreline. So this is just a recap. The upland is a tree cover, shrub cover, natural grown cover, and it goes from the top of the bank to back to the house. So it could only be 10 feet in some places because some of the houses are pretty close to shore. And the shoreline covers the tree and shrub cover, natural grown cover, overhanging woody habitat, and then the aquatic is the percent of emergent floating plant stands, undisturbed plant stands like no man-made channels, and woody habitat. First, we're going to start with the upland. Okay, Okay, what percent of the upland contains trees in this one? And I drew it in the red, what we're considering upland.
Oh, you're talking about the crown.
Everybody done? Correct answer is, well, for all these, there's no correct answer. Whatever you think, but the answer I would choose would be 1 to 24 because there's one tree. What percent of the upland contains shrubs? Zero is correct. Either 0 or 1 to 24, it depends if you want to count the ones in front of the house. But those are not me. What percent of the upland contains natural ground cover? And 0 is the correct answer because those are correct. What percent of this one is the upland contains trees? This one you might have to visualize, kind of move the trees around. And I would say 25 to 49%. Because it's not more than 50. Not more than 49. And this is one of the tricky ones where you might disagree or agree. It could either be like 50 or 49. It's not going to make your point different too much. What percent of upland contains shrubs? Zero. What percent of upland contains natural ground cover? Zero is correct. What percent of this upland contains trees? And you can either say 50 to 74 or 75 to 100. I think it's more in like the 74, 75 range. Just figure out a little bit. What percent of the upland contains shrubs? And this will be easier on your own lot because you know what plants are out there. You'll be able to see into the trees.
Wow.
said 0.
Right?
Just because you can't see any under there.
But there's probably some behind that.
I would think there would be some in there, but again,
But yeah,
you're on
it's
your
hard
own
to
lot.
see.
Yeah, the
But
pictures are
yeah,
hard
you
to see.
assume there is.
Yeah.
But how far is that lawn?
Then what percent contains natural ground cover? It looks like it's mowed right behind the cattails a little bit.
That's kind of tricky because you're not showing us how far the lawn really goes.
Yeah, the cattails cover. I would agree with that. It's right on the 74. Right, now we'll do the shoreline.
Wait, can you go back to that one?
I think we're assuming that the left side of the image is mostly undeveloped wooded property. So
Not.
Oh, okay, so what's underneath the trees is natural ground cover,
That's it.
not mowed.
Right.
But we're not counting the cattails, right?
No,
they're in the
because that would be
nest.
in the aquatic zone.
Yeah.
So think about what's on the lawn
And-
or on the ground.
Underneath the ground, yeah.
Again, pictures aren't the greatest. They work kind of, but your own lot, you know. Shoreline.
So the shoreline is made up of 3 components. So we add the trees and the shrub cover together as one score. Natural ground cover is another score, and then whether there's overhanging woody habitat. Here we're talking more like, is there enough tree cover that's shading and providing shade cover over the water. So again, one of the hardest parts of this survey is really kind of delineating where the shoreline ends, kind of that shore water interface, and where the upland begins. And that's where it's a bit arbitrary. We help with the yellow lines here. But so anyhow, in this case, what percentage of the shoreline do you think contains trees and or shrubs? This was not terribly obvious, perhaps, but again, there's not necessarily no right or wrong, maybe not a good answer. So in this case, most people felt, 25 to 50, and yeah, I think that's probably pretty appropriate. It's right along that 50% line. So if you saw the shrubs and stuff on the far right side of the picture, that might be what one could persuade me to bump it to the 50% or greater than 50% category. So there's a pretty good consensus here. So what percentage of this shoreline contains natural ground cover? So in this case, we're calling the fresh riprap as not natural. And this is where you're right. If it was done 30 years ago, and there's a bunch of forbs and shrubs that are now growing in that riprap, it can definitely be a bit more challenging to say, well, okay, the rock isn't natural, but it's still providing habitat now. But it's not providing habitat, so you could be on the fence one way or another. But either way, overall, you got to remember this accounts for let's see here, whether it's 7 points or 12 points. So if you're on the fence one way or another, in the big picture, it's plus or minus 3 points on the total score. So this is one that can be open for discussion. So it's, there's strong opinions one way or another on who chose 0%. Maybe an accidental misread. Because definitely there's what appears to be natural ground cover on the left side of the picture. So. But I think the majority of people are probably pretty good with 25. So these are more like true-false questions or yes-no questions. So does this shoreline contain overhanging vegetation? So are trees and shrubs covered in water? This is an easy one. And it's pretty easy in the field patches. No, I'm talking like, midday sun, shading the water. Not necessarily 6 a.m. and, these trees are covered in water. So I think it's probably true. So what percentage of this shoreline contains trees or shrubs? At 75 to 100, I think that's what I would have scored to that. Looks like, they left it mostly intact. There's just a little, spot where the dock is, but that's minimally impacted. So we did get a good score for that. Classic buffer. So what percentage contains natural groundwater? So also remember, we're talking trees and shrubs. Shrubs are typically like, 6, 8 feet and smaller. So. Good answer there. So, strong consistency. So this particular image is a little harder to tell, but is there overhanging vegetation? Again, not the best image, but I think most
You can
people are
see on
saying
the
on the right side there's evidence that that's probably overhanging.
Now we're going to move to the aquatic zone. This is the emergent floating leaf cover, submerged, unnatural means, and non-woody habitat. And this aquatic zone has no clean channels through the plant beds. True or false?
Stephanie, would you address the legality of that? There is a right to allow the channel.
Yes, there's. I don't know a lot about it because I don't work with that part. But, there's a certain amount you can cut through to get a boat through, but you can't. More
The APM rules.
the APM rules.
Right.
It's a 15-foot wide channel is allowed.
Access to navigable water.
To access the navigable water. And then you can remove up to, I think, a 50-foot area or less than 50% of the coverage by hand of submerged plants for that
Of submerged plants where?
Like in front of your
Within the 15-foot thing?
So it's a 50 by 50-foot area, or 50 feet out by half your lot. You have a 50-foot lot, you want to that you can remove the submerged plants only. The stuff that's growing on the bottom. That doesn't include the cattails or gold.
So if it's there, you could remove how much of it?
Like I said, 50 by 50 or 50 by half of that square feet. So up to like 2,500 square feet. It's just way more.
You mean remove all of it?
Well, potentially. By hand only, so that would be like with the rate, not with an automated price.
Yeah. But that would be legal.
That would so.
It's to ensure property owners have the right to approach navigable waters.
Oh. And you don't need to put those in.
You do need a permit to remove any aquatic vegetation.
Can you differentiate a little more between submergent and emergent? Just like in this slide where the Bulrush and cattails are up, those are protected.
Yeah.
You're talking more the lily pads and the weeds that are from the surface on down.
Yes. So anything growing out of the surface is protected.
But they had to get a permit to do that.
Correct.
This is like a condo, so I'm sure they had to get something.
But all those rules are right on the DNR's website. It's really easy to find. So.
But would I go to the water park or fisheries or?
You just can type in APM, aquatic plant management, and all the rules are on there.
The aquatic vegetation permit would be for the fisheries department. They do the issuing site visits for the permit. Sorry, I didn't mean to leave you astray.
No, that's fine. Then this aquatic zone has woody habitat present.
The woody habitat is hard to see.
It's
hard
the
to do with photos. So, but you can usually tell when you're out there, you know, and especially on your own property, you'll know if there's branches or trees or.
It doesn't have to be submerged. It could be just out swimming on the water. Aquatic zone has woody habitat present. And this is what I mean where it doesn't have to be submerged. Okay, now we're on the questions.
Oh, come on, they're fun.
Can we please return your stickers back to Josh?
I'll get them.
Or drop them off up here.
Yeah, questions? Again, all this stuff on the back of this, there's a couple of website links, all the training materials. You know, you can take this back to your lake associations, and it's all nicely laid out step by step. So we also have the some PowerPoints that are available online as well. So yeah, questions.
Is there like a follow-up chart or guideline, if you scored such and such and such and such, or if you were particularly low in this one, these are some practical ways of correcting or improving something, or is it just common sense?
We don't have any of that follow-up, but restore your shore and stuff like that kind of goes along with that. But they kind of want you could do.
Who's that now?
That's under restore your shore. It's DNR.
A separate category on the website, you
Yep.
mean?
Yeah, or you could get this booklet. It says
Yeah,
Shoreland Buffer Restoration. It's put out by Trammy County. I just happened to bring one today because I'm from west of here. And this is really good. It tells you all about how you can restore your shore, how you can fix it.
And that's from where?
It's from Beltrami County. It's a free, like right now the fair is going on. They're giving them out free to everybody.
Because part of my question is where you have erosion on this lake, on the north side of this lake, the ice causes a lot of trouble. Some winters, not every winter, and the shore just gets crunched. And I'm wondering if there are people who are considered to be experts who can say, this is the best idea we have so far for that solution.
Well, soil and water districts often have expertise like that.
We have a shoreline guy that does a lot of site visits. So
In Itasca County Soil and Water?
yep. His name is Andy Arns.